So we're joined in the studio by the Quartetto di Cremona. Did I say that properly?
Great, yeah.
Or the
great.
Cremona?
The best.
The best.
The best. Since we started, this
Yes.
is the best.
The best quartet in Cremona, right?
Oh yeah.
There are not a lot of string quartets in Italy, and I think I talked about this last time with one of you, that you guys are really, the creme de la creme of string quartets from Italy right now.
At least we are considered, yes, to be.
Yeah.
We don't say that, but we are considered to be.
Yeah, well, you have to be modest, I'm sure.
Yeah,
sure.
As,
But you have to say. But you have to say.
I will say it. I will say it often, I'm sure. Now, this is my Italian test. I'm going to go through it and see if I can pronounce your names properly. We'll start. Now, you are Cristiano?
Yes.
Okay. Cristiano Gualco, violinist. Paolo Andreoli,
Perfect.
violinist. Simone Gramaglia, violist and performing on the cello. Giovanni Scaglione.
Great.
How's that?
Bravissimo.
Yeah?
Great. Your R is perfect.
Oh, wonderful. So, first of all, before we get started, I'm always fascinated by the instruments that string players perform. I saw on your website that last year you got some new instruments, right?
Yeah.
Can we go through and just introduce your instruments to us first?
Of course. This is a fantastic violin from 1776. It's called, how it's called? Guadagnini, Giovan Battista Guadagnini, and it's one of the finest instruments that we have. Stradivari and Guarneri are the most famous instruments,
Right.
and but the Guadagnini is considered, at the same class of Stradivari. I have played this for a few months now, and is still getting to know it. But it's a really fantastic and very beautifully looking instrument.
Yeah. It's amazing that this instrument is as old as the United States.
Oh,
Really,
yeah.
when you
Yeah,
think about it.
yeah.
I mean, it's a contemporary of Mozart.
Yeah,
Really, and
that's right.
Haydn and other.
That's right.
So much history wrapped up in these instruments. Now, you are also a violinist.
Yes, and this is Paolo Antonio Testore from Milan, from 50 they suppose, because the last number inside is not really clear, so they suppose 50.
Okay, 50 something.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's all good,
Maybe.
I'm sure. And your viola.
At the moment, this is the oldest instrument in the quartet. It's
Yeah.
a viola made by a violin maker from Turin, Gioacchino Torazzi, and it's from 1680. It was very, very big, because at that time violas were very big, because violists didn't need to go
Yeah.
positions, to go up in positions, and then it was cutted a bit to fit like it is nowadays.
1680, that's remarkable.
1680. Yeah.
And our cello.
My cello is a Dom Nicola Amati. Was from Bologna and 1712.
1712.
Yeah.
So these are all Italian-made instruments.
Yeah.
I mean, would
Yeah.
you say that the best string instruments were made in Italy?
Well,
Really?
actually, we have a great tradition, and around the world, the Italian instruments are considered the finest.
Yeah.
That's why everybody from around the world, they normally come to Italy to find even for new instruments. They come to Italy and try to find new instruments. But the funny thing is that all our best instruments, like these old instruments, they're normally abroad. They are in
Right.
Germany or in Japan or in America, as a matter of fact, and Italian musicians normally they try to get them back to be able to play them. This
Well,
is,
yeah. I mean, there's a great repertoire of Italian violin music, especially from, the 1700s and the 1800s.
yeah, of course.
The
remarkable.
violin school was born in Italy.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Tartini,
And actually-
Nardini.
Yeah, actually we come from, the name of the quartet is Cremona, but we are actually born, all four of us, in Genoa. That is
Okay.
actually, as you know, the city where Paganini was born. So
Why aren't you the Genoa Quartet?
Well, it's a strange story, because actually the quartet was born in Cremona, and we were not, at the time when it was born, we were not 4 from Genoa, but we were just 2 from Genoa. Me and Simone were from Genoa, and we had the other 2 members, one coming from Turin and another from Cremona. So we didn't really thought at that time to name the quartet after Genova. It wouldn't have been very respectful towards the other 2 members. So we just decided to name the quartet after Cremona. That was the place where the quartet
That
started.
was a
Yes.
commonality
Yeah.
between you all. Now, you do a lot of traveling, obviously. I looked at your schedule, and boy, you guys are all over the place. I mean, but you were just in the United States for a short time. You went to Tulsa.
We arrived in Tulsa. With Tulsa, we started there, our tour.
We had 3 concerts there.
3 concerts.
Yeah.
Then we are doing a kind of promotional tour, going to different places, different radios, and also performing. Yesterday we performed in Louisville.
Yeah.
And then we are going to Northampton. Tonight we'll be in Dayton, and tomorrow other places.
Cleveland and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Columbus, and then Northampton. Last concert, and then we'll fly directly to Madrid, where we'll open the season of the concert music, of the chamber music series there, and then we'll be in UK, a bit everywhere. Yeah.
Wow. How often do you travel out of the year?
Well, our wife, me and Simone, we have wives, and they say that we are away 6 months a year. That's it's a lot. It's a lot if you consider that for every concert, when the concert is nearby, we spend 1 day for the arrival, then there is the concert next day, and the next day again we travel back. So for every concert there is a lot of traveling, and it's actually easier for us when there is a tour, because we are away for 1 week, and maybe we have 5 concerts, and we spend less time traveling in that way.
Right.
But
have you ever had any of these? I hear all these terrible stories about instruments on airplanes, especially the bigger ones. Have you run into any problems with air travel with your instruments?
Giovanni can tell some stories.
With the cello, it's always
No,
a little bit of a
because
problem.
they are not always used to accept cello, like cabin baggage, extra seat. So if I meet the person who doesn't know or who never did, there is always a problem, always a very long way.
You have to get the
solve,
permissions from everybody, and it's an ongoing problem, I'm sure, for musicians, because people don't generally understand. That this is a priceless instrument, and it's not something you can just stick in the overhead bin.
No.
For the pressure, for the temperature,
And it's funny because sometimes we have to buy tickets by phone, and they ask for dimension. So after the first time we gave them the right dimensions, and the cello wasn't accepted on board, now every time we give
80 centimeters.
Very small dimensions, like a little cello, and you say, okay, perfect, smaller than a viola. But,
and you say, well, I've been feeding him too much, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a little bigger. Let's talk about your repertoire. I know that you are in the midst, or I'm not sure where you are now. I think you have 4 recordings of the Beethoven string quartets out now. I last spoke with one of you about the second recording in the cycle, so you were just kind of really getting into this Beethoven repertoire. But is this ongoing now? Do you have more recordings to do of Beethoven?
The last that came out is the 4th release, but in these days the 5th is coming, which is a very interesting one, because the cycle was supposed to be just the string quartets, but then we realized that we wanted also to play the quintet for 2 violas.
I'm available if you need.
Okay. I'm sorry, but we already did that. And we were so lucky to have recorded that with Lawrence Dutton from the Emerson String Quartet. He's a friend and is a great musician. And so the 5th release will have the Opus 29 and Opus 132. That's one of our favorite, and I guess everyone's favorite Beethoven quartet. And we already recorded actually the 6th release, and we have still 4 string quartets to record. So in November we'll have the last session. We'll do the last ones, and then we'll be done with the Beethoven cycle for recording at least. Then we are still playing the Beethoven cycle. For example, we started in Milan, but now in Rome it's an ongoing thing.
We'll have in the UK, in Norwich.
In UK
in 2017.
Yes, and we are starting actually with the Mozart cycle now. We are studying the Mozart quartets in order to play them from January on, and we'll do them in Milan, in Naples, in Napoli, and in Turin.
Which do you prefer, Beethoven or Mozart?
Well, personally, personally, Beethoven is my favorite. I think Mozart is the same, level, but personally, I prefer Beethoven.
I think Giovanni is our Mozart guy.
Yeah. You like the Mozart?
Yeah.
Piece. How about Schubert? When are you going to do Schubert quintets? I mean, the cello is, the star.
We love that piece, and we played many times with the some great cellists.
Yeah.
One of the last was American cellist, Lynn Harrell.
He's remarkable. Wonderful.
Wonderful. Was a great experience.
That's great. So your Beethoven project has kind of expanded, actually, to include quintets.
Yes.
As well, and you've got a couple of more recordings for that. So we look forward to that. Are you recording them all in the same place?
Yes.
In Italy, right?
Yeah, it's we've been lucky. Just to spend 2 words about that, because it's a place close to Turin, and it's owned by a noble person, very rich and very very enthusiastic, and music lover, and he's sponsorizing us a lot, giving the place where to record. And when we are there, Larry Dutton also has been there. I mean, we are hosted. We have a personal cook, and we can.
Wow.
I mean, it's really a luck for us to have the opportunity to record there. And they built a concert hall because they like music. They do concerts, so we have the opportunity to record in this concert hall.
Well, never let that place go.
No. It's
Hang on to that.
By the way, it's very famous. It's the Foundation for Arts Banna Spinola. And this guy is Federico Spinola, and we like to say his name just because, I mean, we would need more person like him, I think, in the world for classical music.
Absolutely. For every kind of classical music.
Yeah.
It's in need of support, not only on the side of finance, but also on the side of the people who go to the concerts as well. So this is how you bring it to the public. What's the repertoire that you brought in for us today?
Well, we would like to play some pieces. One is Anton Webern, not the one of the 12-tone technique, which, by the way, we are playing in concerts in this period, but the Langsamer Satz, that is a very romantic and early piece by Webern. He was actually 16 when he composed it. And we would like to play a little bit of the Mozart Dissonance Quartet. That is also a very well-known piece and great.
You know what I notice about this quartet and your programming is you are really attracted to opposites. I see that, the pieces you pair with each other. And even in your Beethoven cycle, it always interests me to see, because many string quartets have recorded Beethoven quartets, it's interesting to see what pieces they pair with each other and how they release them, right? I don't think anybody does it sequentially, but they find ways to pair it together. And I see you guys, you get the biggest contrast that you can between pieces and then put them together. So,
well, it's something that you can do. I think not with every one CD of the cycle, because sometimes also the CD has a limit of recording time. So sometimes you have to mind also about that. But for example, for the first release, we did, like for the first concert that we did in the cycle, we put together the Opus 18 number 6, Opus 95, and Opus 135, because 18 number 6 is a very classical, very traditional, coming from Haydn and Mozart, but the last movement begins with an adagio that reminds you to the last quartets.
Right.
It's very interesting, and Opus 95, of course, is the breaking ground string quartet. Even Beethoven didn't want it to be played publicly because it was very experimental.
Right.
And Opus 135, the very last work of Beethoven, actually, I think probably the very last work of Beethoven, not just in German music, Opus 135, or one of the very last works, and that is strange because it doesn't really sound like one of the last Beethoven quartets, but it's a little bit classical. The first movement, for example, has very classical material, sounds a little bit like 18th century music, but still it has this adagio that is really very much like the other last quartets, and the last movement even has a phrase, that says, "Must it really be?"
Right.
From which the fourth movement is inspired. So it's a question, could be an important question, or maybe not so important question, but it was.
It makes you think. It draws you in.
And in concert, for example, we did in Milano. We did this as the first concert. Then we did in the middle of the cycle. We did a concert with all the Opus 59, so 359, number 1, number 2, number 3. That is very demanding for us to play in one concert. And the last concert it was more autobiographic because we studied with Piero Farulli, who was the great viola player of the Quartet Italiano. That you know, so we have history with Piero Farulli, and they were very famous for the last Beethoven quartets. And so we did Opus 130 and Opus 132 in the last concert. So we tried to give some you know, intellectual meaning to our cycle, and also some personal history.
Well, you're kind of the modern day heirs to the Italian quartet. I've heard that from, you know, many different people that talk about you. I can tell you've done a lot of thinking about it, about music of Beethoven, and that is reflected in your performance. So we're going to hear music by Anton von Webern and Mozart.
Yeah.
Here in our studio. I want to thank you gentlemen for coming in today. It's a real thrill to have you here.
Big pleasure.
And you know, next time you're in Toledo, doors open.
Oh yes.
Right.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Just give me a call.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Great.
thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.